If you're learning English, you've probably felt overwhelmed by the sheer amount of grammar out there. It's a lot, right? I know because I've been there. I've studied with all the main grammar books. I've studied with course books, textbooks. I've done a bunch of grammar exercises in my life, and I've been teaching English as a whole, but specifically English grammar for almost 2 decades by now. So even though I love doing it, I also understand that it can be challenging for a learner to learn all these grammar rules, internalize all these structures. So today, I want to save you a bunch of time because in this episode, I'm going to share with you the absolute essential topics, grammar topics, that a B2 learner needs to master in order to communicate with more confidence and communicate more naturally. I'm talking about the type of grammar that will make you sound more accurate, natural, and confident in your everyday conversations and interactions in English. So let's get started. I have here my list of topics. Look, I'm not going to go into a lot of details here because I don't have time. So my purpose today is to give you the topics, and how you go about learning them or studying them is up to you. Okay? The very first topic you need to pay attention to when it comes to grammar as a B2 level learner is subject-verb agreement. Subject-verb agreement is basically about, well, ensuring that when you write a sentence, when you produce a sentence in English, your subject, your verb, and your object, or complement, they go well together. They are used correctly and accurately. At a B2 level, you should already be familiar with concepts like subject, verb, object or complement, pronouns, auxiliary verbs. These terms should not be foreign to you. I'm not saying that you have to become a grammar expert and know all the terminology, but a basic sense of what constitutes a sentence is required at this level. Why is it important? Why does it matter? Because it demonstrates a strong grasp of sentence construction and avoids awkward phrasing that can distract your listener. Getting this right makes your speech sound much more polished. Let me give you some examples here. So I've already shared about knowing the basics of forming a sentence: subject, verb, object, or complement. But also more nuanced uses. For example, the team are celebrating their victory. This is a common mistake. We usually think of the word team as a collective noun, so we treat it like a singular word. Ideally here, instead of saying the team are celebrating their victory, it's better to say the team is celebrating its victory. Another common mistake: neither of the options are good. Neither of the options are good. When you use neither or neither of them, neither of the options, you need to use the singular right after, okay? Neither, either, each are all singular. So the correct sentence here would be neither of the options is good. You see, so subject-verb agreement is about that. Just to recap, understanding the basics of forming a sentence, subject, verb, complement, or object, and also these more advanced nuances like I just shared with you. The second point that I believe is crucial for you to master is the 12 verb tenses in English. Oh yes, all the 12 verb tenses. But don't panic. It's not about memorizing tables, but it's about understanding when and why to use each one of these verb tenses to accurately convey time and sequence. Let me just name the 12 verb tenses here for you, just in case you're wondering what they are. So, here we go. Present simple, present continuous, past simple, past continuous, future simple, and by future simple, we can think of future with will and going to, and future continuous. These are the first 6 verb tenses you need to study. Then we move on to the perfect tenses, which are also 6. present perfect simple, present perfect continuous, past perfect simple, past perfect continuous. Finally, future perfect simple, future perfect continuous. These are the 12 verb tenses. Why is it important for you to learn them? Because using the correct tense allows you to clearly communicate when actions happened, how long they lasted, and their relationship to other events. This is fundamental for storytelling, explaining processes, and giving clear instructions. Let me give you some examples here. I really recommend you start with learning each verb tense separately, and then you start mixing them. For example, mixing simple past and past continuous. Simple past, I ate dinner. That's a completed action. I was eating dinner when she called. You see, that was an action that was in progress when another action happened. So I was eating dinner, that was in progress, that was happening, it wasn't finished, when she called. And we usually use them together to tell a story, to share an experience in the past. Like in this case, I was eating dinner when she called. I am using I was eating dinner, which is a past continuous phrase, and I'm using the phrase when she called, which is a past simple phrase. Knowing the difference helps to describe events accurately in time. Another example of mixing here, we have present perfect versus simple past. For example, I have lived here for 5 years. This is a present perfect sentence, and it's about an action that started in the past and continues until now. I have lived here for 5 years. It means that I moved here 5 years ago, and I have lived here ever since. I still live here to this day. Now, if I say I lived there for 5 years, that's past simple, it's a completed action. It means that I don't live there anymore. You see the difference? This is crucial for talking about experiences, duration, and changes over time in your life. Also remember that more complex tenses equals more accuracy. More complex tenses include, well, the perfect tenses, but also tenses like past perfect continuous, or future perfect even, future perfect continuous. Here's an example with future perfect. This is a more complex verb tense, but if you are able to use that correctly, it shows that your level of precision and accuracy is up there. Listen, I will have finished reading the book by Saturday. Interesting, isn't it? I will have finished reading the book by Saturday. This is a future perfect sentence. What does it mean? Imagine today is Wednesday. Now think about this coming Saturday. There is a gap between today, Wednesday, and the upcoming Saturday. When I tell you that I will have finished reading the book by Saturday, I'm telling you that by Saturday, I will have finished reading the book. Now, when exactly I will finish reading this book, I'm not telling you because, to be honest, I don't know. I might finish it today. I might finish it tomorrow. I might finish it on Friday. What matters is that between this gap, between today, Wednesday, and this upcoming Saturday, by Saturday, at some point here in the middle, I will finish it. So I say, I will have finished reading the book by Saturday. You see, this is a more complex verb tense, but it communicates a more complex idea when it comes to tenses and the time actions happen. Here's another example, past perfect. Listen, by the time I arrived, they had already left. This is an action completed before another past action. Listen again. By the time I arrived, that's a past simple sentence. That's the first event in the past, in my story here. Something else happened before that. That is my past perfect sentence. So by the time I arrived, they had already left. It means that when I arrived at the place, at some point before that, which we don't know when it happened, but at some point before I arrived, they left. So by the time I arrived, they had already left. Knowing this is essential for clearly sequencing past events, especially in narratives. Narratives, telling stories, sharing anecdotes, sharing personal experiences that you've had in the past. If you want to take your learning further, and if you want to be supported by a welcoming environment, an environment of like-minded people, people just like you who are serious learners, you should definitely consider joining my Fluency Hub. The Fluency Hub is my private community, and by becoming a member of the Fluency Hub, you have access to what I consider the pillars for you to learn English well. You have access to exclusive content because we have a language lab where I constantly update with new lessons, new topics. So, for example, the 12 verb tenses. At this moment, as I'm making this video now, I have been working on a mini course called the 12 verb tenses in English, and members of the Fluency Hub will have access to that course when it's finally ready. So I'm always updating the platform, the language lab, with new courses, new materials, new lessons, and it's all exclusive, not available here on YouTube or on any other public channel. That's the first pillar, content for you to engage in self-study. The second pillar of the Fluency Hub is community. You get to interact with me, with other members there who are serious, proactive learners, just like you. You get to share your thoughts, ideas, ask questions, and we also have the conversation club built in the community, which means that every week, about twice a week lately, members have been meeting on live calls for conversation practice about a topic. That is really cool, isn't it? Also, by being a member of the Fluency Hub, you unlock the third pillar for successful learning, which is coaching. Coaching from me, an experienced teacher. So also as a member, you have the opportunity to join monthly live coaching sessions, group coaching sessions with me, where I take you by the hand and I teach you stuff about English. I guide you, wonderful sessions about wonderful topics about this language. So you see, you are missing out for not being part of the Fluency Hub. But listen, the Fluency Hub, my private community, is not for you if you don't believe in hard work, if you are not proactive as a learner, if you are a person who always expects other people to tell you what to do, the Fluency Hub is not for you. But if you are a committed learner who is ready to invest in yourself, in your personal growth, in your personal development, if you are a person who wants to be an active participant in this community, you are more than welcome. And ideally, about level of English here, I recommend you have at least an A2 level to get started, a pre-intermediate level. This hub, this community is not for complete beginners, okay? So here's my invitation to you. Learn more about the Fluency Hub, my private community. I'm going to leave the link here in the description of the episode, also in the pinned comment on YouTube. And if it makes sense to you, join and see it for yourself. Being surrounded by like-minded people, that takes your English to a whole nother level, okay? The next point you want to pay attention to, you want to study to be a solid B2 level learner is, I'm having some trouble here with my pages. Okay, conditionals. Oh yeah, conditionals. Basically, we have 5 types of conditionals, okay? We have first conditional, actually 0 conditional first. Let me go back. So we have 0 conditional, first conditional, second conditional, third conditional, and mixed conditional. This is when you mix usually second and third conditional together, okay? Now, they are great for talking about possibilities, hypotheticals, and imaginary situations. Mastering the 0, first, second, third, and mixed conditionals truly unlocks your ability to express complex ideas. This is important because they allow you to express cause and effect, as in the case of first conditional, for example. If you touch the fire, you will burn your hand. You see, this is cause and effect. Make predictions, discuss hypothetical scenarios, and even express regret or possibility in the past. You can communicate all these things by mastering conditionals. They are vital for sophisticated discussions and problem solving. Let me give you some examples here. First conditional. If it rains tomorrow, we will stay inside. You see, that's a future plan, a likely outcome, or even a prediction about your future. If it rains tomorrow, we will stay inside. An example with second conditional. If I won the lottery, I would travel the world. This is a hypothetical situation, an imaginary scenario, an imaginary scenario. It's not real. I mean, the truth is, I haven't won the lottery. Probably I won't win the lottery, but let me just play with the imagination here a little bit. If I won the lottery, I would travel the world. You see, I am just imagining something that is not really true at the moment I'm speaking. What about third conditional? If I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. Now I am communicating regret about a past event. What truly happened here? What truly happened was I didn't study hard. Because of that, I failed the exam. That's what happened. I didn't study hard, and because of that, I didn't pass. Now, in the present moment, I want to express regret about this, so I use third conditional. Oh man, if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. You see? What about mixed conditionals? Look, if you had listened to me, you wouldn't be in this mess now. So the first clause here is in third conditional. If you had listened to me, this is communicating the past action. What happened? You didn't listen to me. That's in the past. So let me imagine an alternative scenario to this. If you had listened to me, that's third conditional, you wouldn't be in this mess now. Present condition. So this is second conditional. Second conditional, remember, is used to talk about hypothetical, imaginary situations now, in the present moment. So the truth is that I am in a mess now. That's my current situation. Okay? And why am I in this mess? Because I didn't listen to my friend. You see, so there is a present consequence and there is a past cause. So to communicate the past cause, I use third conditional. To communicate the present situation or result or effect, I use second conditional. It's all hypothetical. Again, if you had listened to me, the truth is that you didn't, you wouldn't be in this mess now. But the truth is that you are in this mess now. You see, so you are connecting past conditions to present consequences. Really cool, isn't it? Moving on to the next topic here, we have passive voice. Passive voice. When and why to use it. Passive voice is great because it's not always about who did something, but what was done. Sometimes you don't want to focus on the person who executed an action, who performed an action. You just want to focus on the action itself. Understanding passive voice adds significant flexibility to your sentences. Passive voice is used when the action or the recipient of the action is more important than the performer of the action, or when the performer is unknown. It's common in formal writing, news reports, and scientific contexts. News reports, this is absolutely true. Try watching CNN, BBC, any news report in English, and you will realize that many of the sentences the anchors use there are in the passive voice. Things like, 25 million have been stolen. You see, who stole it? Probably the robbers, but I want to focus on the situation here, the actual action. 25 million have been stolen. Or that house was broken into last night. Very common for you to see passive voice being used in news report. So if anything, understanding passive voice also helps you better understand the news in English. Let me give you some examples here. They built this bridge in 1980. This is an active voice sentence because my primary focus here is on the people who built the bridge. Who built it? They. They built this bridge in 1980. But if I reverse the order here, and if I start focusing on the object itself, in this case, the bridge, now I have a passive voice sentence. The bridge, or this bridge, was built in 1980. I could say by them, but now by them becomes secondary. I can mention them or not. I can just say that the bridge was built in 1980. You see, this is useful when you don't know who built the bridge, for example, or if the people who did it, they're not important to the conversation. They're not germane to the conversation. Here's another example. Someone stole my wallet. My wallet was stolen. You see, I'm focusing on the wallet being gone. Just like the news reporter would say that something has been stolen. Common for reporting unfortunate events without knowing the culprit, the person responsible for doing that. So add passive voice to your study list. Next point, modals. Learn modals, their nuance and function. Modals are words like can, should, must, might, and they add so much nuance to your meaning. It's not just about possibility, but also obligation, advice, permission, and much more. They allow you to express certainty, possibility, ability, obligation, permission, and advice with great precision. They are crucial for politeness, making suggestions, and expressing opinions. Let me give you some examples. If you want to communicate permission or possibility, you can go now versus you may go now. You can go now is slightly more casual. You may go now is slightly more formal. I'm giving you permission. What about when expressing obligation or necessity? I must finish this report. I must finish this report. This is an internal obligation. I feel this obligation inside of me. To me, oh man, I must finish the report. Now, I have to finish this report communicates external obligation. It's not just coming from me. Maybe my boss wants that report done by tomorrow, so I have to finish this report. You see, it's a nuance, something very nuanced here, but it's important for you to know that. Choosing the right modal can change the entire tone and meaning of your sentence. What about when giving people advice? You can use should. You should get more sleep. You see? You should get more sleep. I'm giving you advice. Or even a more advanced one, you ought to get more sleep. Ought to is similar to should, but it's slightly more formal. Many times in pronunciation, people reduce it to oughta. So instead of ought to, you hear people saying oughta. So you oughta get more sleep has the same meaning, or that you should get more sleep. Okay? Let me say that again. So you oughta get more sleep means the same as you should get more sleep. But you oughta get more sleep is a little bit more formal. You see? So the impact here is for giving recommendations and suggestions. Ought to, should. So add modals to your list. Very, very important topics to learn. Okay, moving on here. We have gerunds and infinitives. This is a tricky one for many learners. Knowing when to use ing, that's the gerund, and when to use to plus the verb after certain verbs is a constant challenge but essential for accuracy. Why? Because incorrect use of gerunds and infinitives often leads to awkward or incorrect sentences. Mastering these patterns helps you form grammatically correct and natural sounding phrases. Let me give you some examples. Verb plus gerund. I enjoy watching movies. Not I enjoy to watch movies. Common verbs that take the gerund after. Enjoy, finish, mind, suggest. All these need a gerund, an ing verb after them. Verb plus infinitive. She decided to study abroad. Not she decided studying abroad. Common verbs that take the infinitive after. Decide, want, need, agree, promise. They're all followed by infinitives. Verb plus both with meaning change. Listen, I remember visiting Paris versus I remember to visit Paris. They are slightly different in meaning. I remember visiting Paris. That's a memory that I am activating now. I am recalling a past event. Now, I remember to visit Paris is more about recalling an obligation, not necessarily doing it. Just to give you another example, I can say that I remember going to my grandma's house every weekend when I was a kid. I remember going to my grandma's house every weekend. You see, it's a memory from a past situation in my life. Versus, oh, I have to remember to pay my rent tomorrow. You see, remember to pay is more an obligation. Okay? This is crucial for conveying precise meaning with verbs like remember, stop, try, and forget. So, add gerunds and infinitives to your list if you want to be a solid B2 level learner. The next topic for you to study is relative clauses. Defining relative clauses and non-defining. These are like the building blocks that let you add more information about a noun without starting a new sentence. Basically, it's about communicating more ideas in the same sentence without starting a new one. We have defining clauses, which are the essential ones, and non-defining clauses. These are for extra pieces of information. So, why is it important to learn about defining and non-defining relative clauses? Because they allow you to combine sentences, avoid repetition, and provide detailed descriptions efficiently. They make your speaking and writing much more sophisticated and fluid. Okay? Let me give an example here of a defining clause. This is the book that I was telling you about. That here is my defining clause. What are others? Who, which, whose, when, where. Okay? So, this is the book that I was telling you about. I could communicate the same idea here using two sentences, two separate sentences. For example, look, this is the book, period. I was telling you about this book last night. You see, I'm communicating that idea using two sentences now. Or I can just join these two ideas into one sentence and I use the clause that to help me connect them. Oh yeah, look, this is the book that I was telling you about last night. You see, it's all just one sentence. Crucial for identifying specific people, places, or things. Usually we use who for people. This is the person who blah, blah, blah. Which for things. That can be used for both who and which, but it's slightly more informal. We use when for time. This is the time when something happened. And where for places. This is the hospital where I was born, for example. Instead of saying, look, that's the hospital. I was born there. No, you can just say that in one sentence. Oh yeah, look, that's the hospital where I was born. Okay? Now, what about non-defining clauses? They are useful for adding extra information to the sentence, but if you remove or take out that extra information, what's left of the sentence still makes sense. Listen, my brother, comma, who lives in London, comma, is a doctor. What is the non-defining clause here? Who? And specifically that phrase in the middle, who lives in London. And that's also my extra piece of information. If I remove this extra piece of information in between commas, the sentence still makes sense. My brother is a doctor. You see? But I'm just adding an extra piece of information here. My brother, who lives in London, is a doctor. Okay? What is the impact of this kind of sentence? For adding interesting but non-essential details, making your descriptions richer. Okay? So, defining and non-defining relative clauses. Who, which, where, when, whose, and that. Make sure you study those as well. Next topic, reported speech. We also call it indirect speech. Reported speech. This is how you tell someone what someone else said without quoting them directly. It's like you are paraphrasing what someone told you. It involves tense changes and pronoun shifts. So this one is one of those more advanced grammar topics that you need to master at a B2 level. Why is it important to learn reported speech? Because it's essential for recounting conversations, summarizing information from others, and conveying news. It's a key skill for any social or professional interaction. Let me give you some examples. He said, I am going to the store. This is a direct sentence, not a reported speech sentence or indirect sentence. What is the reported speech version here? Something like this. He said that he was going to the store. You see, so the original sentence, what he said was, I am going to the store. If you are talking to another friend and you want to tell that friend what he said, you're going to use reported speech. He said that he was going to the store. But you see, now I'm saying he said, and I'm changing the original present tense into past tense. So the original was, I am going to the store. That's present continuous. When I report that in the past continuous. He said that he was going to the store. So for you to learn reported speech well, you need to familiarize yourself with these tense shifts. Because for all kinds of sentences, most of them have tense shifts. When you go, he said, she said, he asked, she asked. Okay? They told me. That's another one. This allows you to integrate someone else's words smoothly into your own narrative. Another example, direct speech. She asked, are you hungry? Reported speech, she asked if I was hungry. In this case, I am reporting a question. She asked if I was hungry. This is useful for accurately reporting questions and commands. So, here's another topic for you to study, reported speech. We also call it indirect speech. Next topic, conjunctions and discourse markers, connecting thoughts coherently. For expanding ideas, conjunctions and discourse markers are essential. They are the glue that holds your sentences and ideas together. What are conjunctions? However, therefore, although, because. We can also call them linking words. It's how you link your sentences, your ideas together, both in speech and in written form. These words create logical connections between your thoughts, making your speech and writing flow smoothly and sound coherent. They enable you to express cause, contrast, addition, and sequence clearly. Let me give you some examples. If you want to communicate cause and reason with a connector, you can use the connector or the conjunction because. I went to bed early because I was tired. Because here is my conjunction. It's giving a reason why I went to bed early. What about if you want to contrast information? One example could be although. Although it was raining, we went for a walk. Now I am contrasting. Although, even though is another one for this meaning. Even though, although it was raining, we went for a walk. What if you want to add more information to whatever it is you're talking about? You can use, for example, furthermore. He's intelligent. Furthermore, he's very kind. Furthermore would be a more advanced version of and, which is also a conjunction, but a much simpler, much more basic one. He's intelligent and very kind could be he's intelligent. Furthermore, he's very kind. So maybe for a text that you're writing, an academic text, or an essay that you're writing for a test, knowing these is very useful. What about if you want to express the result or the consequence for something? You can use consequently, for example. I forgot my umbrella. Consequently, I got wet. You see, so this elevates your communication from simple sentences to complex, well-structured arguments and narratives. There's a bunch of conjunctions for you to learn. These are only a few examples, but make sure you learn them. Nevertheless, nonetheless, on one hand, on the other hand, such as, namely, in conclusion, to sum up, and so on. Okay? Next topic for you to pay attention to if you want to be a solid B2 level learner, articles. Yes, articles. We have the indefinite articles in English, and we have the definite articles, the, or the, yeah, the pronunciation might change there. And we also have situations when we don't have to use the article. Now, this seems like a basic topic, but mastering these nuances is a hallmark for mastering these nuances is a hallmark of truly proficient speakers, especially if your native language does not use articles that much. Now that I have been in contact with students from other parts of the world, not just Brazilian students, I noticed that some languages don't have or don't use as many articles. So because of that, the learners who speak that language as their first language, they tend to transfer the habit of not using articles in English. For example, I bought book last night. No, I bought a book last night. I bought a book last night. So these learners tend to cut out articles when they are needed. I bought book last night? No, I bought a book last night. Okay? Why is it important? Because incorrect article usage, or even the absence of articles when they are needed, can make your English sound unnatural or even change the meaning of what you're trying to say. Correct usage shows precision and a natural feel for the language. For example, I need a pen, not I need pen. Or, if you want to be more specific, you can use the. I need the pen you borrowed. You see, I'm talking specifically about that pen, the one you borrowed. So, I need the pen you borrowed. This is crucial for clarity about whether you're referring to something general or something specific. Also, when talking about unique items like the sun, the moon, the internet, you see, all these take the definite article. Uncountable nouns, zero article, no article. I like music. In this case, it's not necessary to use any article. Part of mastering articles is also about that, okay? It's about knowing when to use a, and the, but also knowing when not to use a, and, or the. So, I like music. No article is needed here. So don't say I like the music, I like a music, okay? This helps you navigate countable and uncountable nouns correctly. So articles, another topic for you to pay attention to. Next topic, prepositions of time, place, and movement. This is another tricky area for many learners. Prepositions of time, place, and movement. For example, on, and, at. When to use those. They might seem simple, but their idiomatic use can be complex. Prepositions are small words with big impacts. Incorrect prepositions can lead to misunderstanding or make your sentences sound awkward. Mastering common prepositional phrases makes your English sound much more natural. Let me give you some examples. At 3 o'clock. For times, we say at. On Tuesday. For days, we say on. In July. For months, we say in. For places, at home, in the garden, on the table. What about more idiomatic usages? I'm interested in art. Not I'm interested on art. Or another common mistake I hear, I'm interested about art. No, you are always interested in something. Memorize that. Interested in, interested in. Just like you have probably memorized that it's listen to, right? Listen to music, listen to rock. Just memorize that it's interested in. Correct preposition use is key to sounding native-like and avoiding common errors. Okay? And finally, the last topic for today, that's topic 12, phrasal verbs. Oh yeah, the phrasal verbs. Common phrasal verbs and high-frequency phrasal verbs. Look, you can't learn all of them, but focusing on the most common and high-frequency ones is essential for everyday communication. Why are phrasal verbs important? Why do they matter? Because they are incredibly common in spoken and informal English. Understanding them is crucial for comprehension, and using them makes your English sound more natural and less formal. This is specifically true if your native language is a Latin-derived language, like my native language, Portuguese. Portuguese, for example, is full of Latin-derived words, and English also has those Latin-derived words. The problem is that if I speak or write only using these Latin-derived words in English, I'm going to sound extremely formal or academic. The way to make my English sound more casual, informal, in conversation for day-to-day use is by using more phrasal verbs. And it's also great for you to understand native speakers in media, in movies, in TV shows, in songs, because most of the time, native speakers use phrasal verbs, not individual words. Okay? Some examples here very quickly. Get up, which means to rise from bed, obviously. I usually get up at 7 a.m. You see, it's a verb and a preposition, get up. I mean, it's kind of weird to say I usually awake at 7 a.m. You can say that, but it sounds completely formal, doesn't it? I usually awake at 7 a.m. Now, I usually get up at 7 a.m. Or look forward to. This means to anticipate something with pleasure. I'm looking forward to my vacation. In other words, I'm excited about my vacation. You see? I mean, you could say that you are anticipating your next vacation with excitement, but you see how formal that sounds? I am anticipating my next vacation with excitement. To sound a little bit more casual, go, I'm looking forward to my next vacation. Turn off or to switch off. Please turn off the lights when you leave. Instead of maybe please deactivate the lights. You see, it's kind of weird. Or put off, which means to postpone something. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. In other words, don't procrastinate. Don't postpone. But if you say put off, that makes you sound more casual in your communication. These and many other phrasal verbs are used daily, constantly in conversations. Knowing the most common ones significantly boosts your comprehension of English and also your fluency if you communicate, if you speak with them. Okay? So, there you have it. These are the 12 grammar topics that, in my opinion, are absolute essentials for any B2 English learner aiming to communicate well in most everyday situations. These topics of grammar that I shared with you today are the building blocks that will make your English clear, natural, and effective. Remember, it's not about memorizing endless rules. It's about understanding why each point matters and practicing them in context. Focus on these areas, and you will see a massive improvement in your ability to express yourself. If you found this helpful, please hit the like button. That helps me a lot here on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you are a new listener. And let me know in the comments which grammar point you found most challenging or most useful. And finally, I would say, share this episode with a friend of yours, someone who is also trying to improve their English skills. Share this episode with that person, because when you share, somebody else can benefit from this information, okay? Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm Thiago. I'm signing off, and I'll be talking to you very soon in the upcoming episode of the podcast. Bye-bye.